Hello and welcome to my daily vlog. This is vlog 23 and today is Monday, March 12th, 2012. Um, Funny thing, this is the 23rd vlog and I am 23 years old, so there's a little intersection there of numbers, a little intersection of facts. It's completely meaningless, but I was thinking about it earlier and it had occurred to me and I ascribed meaning to it even though there was no meaning to be given to it. And I thought that that was just sort of an interesting, really brief talking point to bring up, was that we do that a lot as people, and it's not a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, I actually think on the whole, sorry, apparently I can't move because then it has to readjust. Um, on the whole, it's a good thing, but it can have negative consequences. We can ascribe meaning to things that we shouldn't, and then we create drama, we create tension, we create stress. And that happens a lot. I'm sure you can think of many examples where people do something like they read body language wrong or whatever, and so they attach meaning to something they shouldn't be attaching meaning to. And sorry, I have space for a second. I'm gonna pause my little insight here. I'm recording this at 720p as opposed to 1080p. I think I normally record it 1080p, but for some reason I'm losing a lot of frames doing that. I'm not sure why, because it's the same computer I had before where I was recording that, and now for some reason, even though there's nothing particularly different about this computer, it suddenly doesn't seem to want to do that. I thought maybe I was recording it too high, so I put it down to 720, and it seems to be working fine now. Um, but I just realized that I didn't normally record at 720 because my logo, which is right here, is a lot bigger in comparison to the size that it should be, which means that means that the resolution is smaller than it normally is, which means that I was right, that I do normally record at 1080. So for some reason I had to figure it out later. I'm not able to record at 1080 right now because I'm just losing way too many frames per second. I'm not sure why that is, so that's something I want to have to explore a little bit. But anyways, back to my topic. So like people will take words and they'll read between the lines and then they'll interpret meanings that aren't there to be interpreted. They might look at your body language and have your body language mean something that shouldn't mean. We do this all the time. We attach meanings to things that we shouldn't, and it creates negative consequences. At the same time, there's so many things that we celebrate, so many things that we give meaning to that create such joy and such happiness. And there are so many numerous examples. I really hope that people can sort of come up with them on their own. The things that they attach meaning to that really have no meaning. Um, Even something like a birthday, it really has very little meaning. It's just another year, and really, the specific date is sort of arbitrary. Like, yeah, I mean, if you simply turned a year older on the first of every year, like that book, I think it's called the Giver or something like that. So not an extreme example like that society, but if sort of that sort of method of aging happened where just in the first of every year you were just another year older, um, it would literally have about the same amount of meaning as your birthday does. Having that specific date is sort of meaningless, but even that has just sort of more inherent meaning because it is a specific measure of time than say, oh, I don't know, Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is completely arbitrary. I mean, we should be thankful every day, right? And that's something that a lot of people talk about on Thanksgiving. Like, we should always be thankful throughout the year. But we have this day, this specific date that we celebrate and we attach all this meaning to. And sometimes it's negative, sometimes families fight and all that stuff on Thanksgiving. But the general spirit of it is good. And it's completely arbitrary, completely meaningless, but we attach all of this meaning to it and it becomes something special, something huge. And the fact that people have that power of creation is just remarkable to me, and I like it, and I think it's great because a lot of people don't really realize how creative they can be. Not everyone is sort of born with that inherent power to tap into their creativity. So not everyone realizes they have it, but whether or not you're an artist really is meaningless to the fact that you really generally have more creative power than you think you do. And I thought that that was a cool point to bring up. Today I should be working from 3 till 11:30, but that's not going to be happening. I actually called in earlier. I was driving my car home yesterday after hanging out with a friend, and they're a pretty cool friend. I've enjoyed hanging out with them so far every time that I have, so that's a good thing. But I had sort of a bad day yesterday. Um, on my Facebook, I mentioned it. There were just a few different things which just sort of brought my day down in spite of that. And in hindsight, sitting here looking back, I really enjoyed yesterday, so I'm not going to let those things bring me down anymore. But they did at the time. Anyways, one of those things was my car. I was driving home, and I got off the highway, and I really don't know how long it was hot, because I should have been paying attention to it, but I wasn't, because it's sort of been overheating lately, and I knew that there was a problem with the coolant, but I couldn't find the leak, and I hadn't brought it in to get fixed yet, because I'm sort of worried about not having a car and all that stuff, and so I've sort of been procrastinating on it, and so definitely partly my fault on that end. But I figured the leak was small because I wasn't running out of coolant that quickly. When I had checked just last week, the coolant level was a lot lower than it should have been, but it wasn't super low. So I figured, okay, slowly leaking somewhere. That's fine. I'll buy some coolant, some antifreeze, and just put it in my car while I'm waiting to figure out what I'm going to do and how I'm going to get repaired. Well, I get off the highway yesterday, and I'm sitting there with my brake, waiting to go, and I realized that my car is shaking. It's like shaking really bad. It's just a vibration throughout the entire car, which is not something that I've experienced before. So I didn't realize what was going on. And then I drove a little bit more. I sort of feel it shaking. And then I stopped again, and it was really shaking bad. And I looked at my temperature gauge, and it was almost 260 degrees in there, whatever. It was like in the red, like at the top of the red, for danger zone for the car. I guess really right there, I should have just pulled over and just let it cool down. But I was like less than 3 or 4 minutes from my home, so I just drove it back and got it parked. But it was really really bad. And when I looked at the coolant inside, I opened up the hood to look at the coolant. There was smoke coming from like just one part of the engine, not the entire engine, but it was bad. And I just don't want to see smoke coming from any part of your engine. And I looked in the coolant, and it was just gone. There was just no coolant in there whatsoever. So I put some coolant in. Not that it really matters since the car isn't on it. Anyways, but I'm going to hopefully turn the car on soonish and let the coolant run through the engine, and hopefully it's okay. I was able to look underneath the car, and I saw the leak dripping. There was a lot of coolant coming out, so I guess it might have been a small leak before, but maybe it got bigger, and now it's a little bit more visible. So that's a good thing, that it looks like the leak is external. It's probably just need to change the hose, and things will be fine there. So that's exciting, because I know that can be fixed very easily. But I'm now worried that maybe when it was overheating as it was, and I was driving, that something else got um, wrecked. And I hope not. I hope it was just the engine sort of seizing because it was so hot, and that once it cools down, it's fine. But there's always a chance something else is broken now too, and I really can't afford to fix all of that. So I'm hoping that my car will be okay. And that sort of brought me down a little bit yesterday, and I'm still worried about today, but I finally got some sleep, and I'm fine. So that's another thing to mention. I worked over the weekend, and I was just working Saturday. It was supposed to be an evening and a sleep aid, and during the sleep aid shift, I get to sleep like 6 hours, assuming no crises, from 12 to 6. But as I was working the evening shift, they called me and they asked if I could do an overnight instead, because they needed more overnight people, because people call out a lot. And I said yes, even though I knew that the next day I had plans and I really should have gotten some sleep. So I stayed up the whole night, and I got out, I went to church, and then I went from church to go hang out with a friend. And I still had a lot of fun. I was very tired, but I still managed to do everything I needed to do and have fun. But I feel like the fatigue really made me just some poor decisions, and it really exacerbated my mood. So when I felt a little bit down later on because of certain things, it really heightened that sense of feeling down and really made it bad when it really wasn't that bad. So I got some sleep finally when I got back home at like 5 or 6, and I pretty much slept all night, really. I just slept until about 8 in the morning this morning, got up, called into work because I knew my car wasn't going to work, and hopefully I'm going to get my car looked at today. It sort of depended on whether or not I could reach the person. My roommate recommended a friend that he knows that works at a place nearby. Um, and he called the friend. The friend said he'd be able to look at it later, but I haven't really been able to locate my roommate, and I don't have that guy's number, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. Because I guess there's not much else to talk about. I've been going on for more than 10 minutes, which is way longer than I really want to go on for a daily normally, but I had that to share with you in my little spiel on creativity. And I guess the last thing to note is that you see I'm laying down in my bed. That's where I'm doing my daily from. I'm not really sure where I'm going to be doing my dailies from, but this is definitely not a permanent situation. I'm going to probably be doing them in my room, but right now, as I mentioned, I'm still sort of in the middle of trying to figure out where everything goes. Since I have a queen-size bed in a very small room, it takes up a lot of room. So I'm not really going to have a desk in my room, I believe. Instead, I'm going to wall mount my monitors, I think I mentioned, stuff like that. But it still hasn't been mounted to the wall yet because I haven't gotten that done. So it's just sort of sitting on my computer, and the web camera is sort of just sitting on top of the monitor, and this is sort of the best way to look into it, I think. Hopefully once I get the monitor wall mounted, then I can look for a good place for the camera. I'll probably just be sitting in my bed once that happens, but for now, looks like laying in the bed is actually pretty good. It's sort of uncomfortable though after a while. I don't like this laying on my stomach thing. But that's all I got for you today. For this daily number 23, my age, yay! Now I'm gonna go and sort of do my laundry, get some more things organized in my room if I can, and hopefully figure out how I'm gonna get my car looked at so that it can hopefully be in running shape for tomorrow so I can go do the things that I need to do. Ta-ta for now.